Alrighty, let's talk. Let's talk about this. This is a good topic. This topic of the blues jargon and sort of thinking about the styles, the grooves that go with all of the jargon. So let's talk about that. Always my voice comes back because of Zoom opening the thing again. Let me turn that off. All right, so let's get into it. Before I jump into talking about some ideas of things you can do, I want to mention that I have a class tomorrow. I have been absent from YouTube and have not got that announcement out. So if you want more information, I'll update the video description after this live stream. And you'll have a chance to check out this class coming called Blues, Jargon, Grooves, Styles, and Phrasing. Ridiculously long title for a class. But it does incorporate all that. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about this class coming up Saturday, and then I'm going to give you some ideas of how you could think about this topic and work on it. The idea for the class came because years ago, almost a decade ago, my good friend Jerry Hunt and I presented a class to the blues dancing community. We were very active performing for blues dances around the U.S., and I don't know whether they requested it or we came up with it. I think it was a little bit of both, but basically the dancers needed a way to communicate to the band what kind of groove they wanted or what style they were hoping for so they could dance appropriately to that. So this class is perfect to convert over into presenting to harmonica players because the essence of the class is about familiarizing yourself with the terminology and the sound incorporated or associated with these various styles and grooves that are constantly coming up, such as if you go to a blues jam, you'll hear these terms like two beat, tramp groove, Jimmy Reed shuffle, West Coast swing, things like that. So I've got a list that contains 17, probably more than seven. Well, the list contains 17 songs, but I've got a playlist that's even longer. And the class is two part. On one side of it, we're listening and just identifying those styles, the jargon and the grooves that I'm mentioning by song. So we listen to the song, we understand what makes it that, we can hear and identify that it's a rumba based on this or that. And then the second part of the class that kind of happens simultaneously is I'm going to take one idea, one riff, and present it across every single one. So we're working on rephrasing, reinterpreting this idea across these songs. And I think it's extremely important. So as an exercise, as a harmonica player, step one is getting your ear recognizing all these grooves so you can hear something and go, yep, that's a tramp groove, you know. It's so you're quick to identify, so you know how to react, and you've worked on some of this phrasing. So in the class, I'm going to go deeper into how I came up with the ways in which I can change my phrasing according to these various styles, and sort of demonstrate and let you try to practice along. Now, if you're thinking, how can I work this into my practice routine? Start listening to your music and really pay attention. Think about where it might fall. What category would that fall into, and become familiar with the rhythmic nuances that are creating that particular groove. It's all about recognizing how that division of time affects that particular groove. Two beat's a great example of that. Big Boss Man. I'm trying to remember what's on the list. Here's my list. Let's look at it. Jimmy Reed, Hush Hush. And like these songs, I'm not going to pull out the guitar right now, but there are songs where you start to identify, that's a two beat. And then you're thinking, well, what am I normally doing? What is my approach to playing this? If if you're not thinking about interacting rhythmically to these songs, it's going to be very difficult to come up with new phrasing. So I'm going to give you strategy as to how I divide one riff into these many parts. And that's the gist for the class. So let me jump on and say hello. I know it's early in the morning. It's 7:30 a.m. here on Friday. But good to see the people that are here. Good morning to you. I think a portion about calling out the groove and style to the band will be a huge help. Well, yeah. I mean, so if you think about it, like there's two advantages. One is interacting if you're just a harp player sitting in and playing. The other is you want to call and lead the song, lead the band. You need the song examples. It's not just enough to say always, let's do a funky blues. It's better to, it's often, if you want to get it particularly a certain way, then it's good to have the song example. So yeah, one of my favorite two beats, just to throw another one out there, is and it comes in many forms, many styles of blues. You can find two beats, so there's some crossover, like in New Orleans music. But High Heel Sneakers, I'm going to present that song and talk about Tommy Tucker's version. Such a cool, laid back, lazy kind of feel for a two beat. It's got this really cool vibe. It's one of my favorites. So I think it's going to be extremely helpful for everybody that's attending if this is something that's of interest to you. You could also just go to harmonica123.com, and at the top of the homepage, you'll see Jimmy Reed. Just click on Jimmy Reed. That'll take you to the product description. Class is on sale through today. So if you want the sale pricing, grab that. And then it's all recorded. If you can't make it, you can download the notes and download the class after it ends. So again, thinking about this topic, maybe what you should do is maybe an extension of what I'll be doing in this class for those that attend or don't attend. Once you do this in second position, let's say, you come up with one riff and you're trying to apply it to all these different styles of music. What would be cool is to work that. You could really go deep in this. You could take it by position. If you really want to be analytical, you could say, I'm going to take the same riff and transpose that riff into another position, and then try that in that position. Or you could just choose a whole other riff in another position. And so you're constantly thinking about how I use these stock riffs. Got these riffs that always come up in my playing, but now you're getting a little more critical and analytical with the process when you're practicing it. So again, in this class, I'm going to pause as I'm doing what I'm doing and try to really explain why I came up with these approaches to laying out that riff. Why did it come out that way? And I'll tell you now what it comes down to. A big part of it comes down to the what's happening, rhythmically speaking in the song. So the rhythm section is responsible. The guitar part, the rhythm guitar, and what the drums and bass line are doing are influencing a big portion of my phrasing, if not all of it. And that's where I'm picking it up. Melody is another area to examine, which is directly related to rhythm, as you know. Melodies are a great place to grab the melody and learn the melody, but it doesn't just begin and end with the melody. That's a wonderful place to explore. So that's kind of the idea for this class. You'll walk away with this playlist. You'll walk away with the examples of each song associated with the grooves that we'll discuss and play together. And I think that all harmonica players, all musicians in general, if you're going to be playing blues, just becoming very familiar with a handful of songs associated with these styles is very helpful. And let me give you a great example why. There are so many songs out there that don't fall into this or that. A good one is Scratch My Back, okay? Slim Harpo. You either know it or you don't. I'm not going to try to explain that one on a bandstand to the guitarist. If he doesn't know it, I probably won't do it personally. So there's certain songs where there's just lines that live within them. We'll talk about that. I've got a handful of those selected where becoming familiar with the guitar lines and what they're doing and feeding off of some of that is extremely beneficial. So I think this will be fun. This is less of a lot of classes we're processing information, working on riffs. This is more about kicking back and seeing what's possible, absorbing these grooves, the jargon associated, and then working on that phrasing. So that's the idea for Saturday's class. Now, so Adam's bringing up a good point. Knowing the different shuffle variations would be something I need to lock in. Yes, that is a good idea. And I'll have a handful of those variations, but one thing I will say is I don't want to get bogged down in class by saying, like having people inundate me with, well, what is this song? What is this song? What is this song? That's kind of homework and extension of the class. I've already selected the songs that you can listen to and hear. This is what it sounds like. And then from that point, it's up to you to sort of collect songs that you come across and familiarize yourself with what style that is and what groove. But yeah, and shuffles is a big topic because, like Adam's saying, so many different types of shuffles out there and ways to play a shuffle. Like the flat tire in Texas, that comes up a lot. People are always playing that flat in New Orleans too. Flat tire, ta 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 ta, versus the Jimmy Reed style shuffle, versus the Texas shuffle. There's all these different variations that we hear in blues, but they're all technically, like, a lot of these are all shuffles. So it's becoming familiar with the nuances happening in those. There'll be a handful of those, but this is more of an overview of many. Just to be clear, this is more of an overview of many different styles. So there's only, a couple different shuffles presented. Let's see if I could just look at it real quick in my notes. I'd say a lot of these fall under shuffle, but we're going to call the terms associated will be specific in different terms, such as, well, I don't, come to class and find out. Come to class and find out. It's really cool. So I'm excited about it. I think that what you'll learn is that some of these things that you're saying, I need to learn all the shuffles. We have terms and jargon associated with different shuffles that help you make it more specific and true to what the feel is you're trying to come off with there. So that's the goal of the class. We will have various key harmonicas going. In the notes you download, you'll see the key of the song and the key of the second position. If you were to work, what we'll do in class, what you would need. You don't need to have every key harmonica. It's more about listening to the way in which I'm working the phrasing. That's the biggest part of this class. Identifying and then learning how to interact appropriately with one idea. So yeah, start by here's an example of what you could do today. Take stock of what you know. Whether you're going to the class or not, write down on a piece of paper terms that pop into your head that you've heard and that you think you're familiar with, and try to describe them a little bit better on paper. So you're like, let's say, I know what a shuffle is, I know what a swing is, I've heard of a tramp groove, whatever they are for you. You start to write down and take stock of those. So have a little journal where you're keeping up with that, and your goal is to come up with the song examples as your best way to really understand ways that they can be presented. And it's tricky. There's a lot of crossover. There's some similarities in some of these that we'll talk about. But again, I'm not going to get too bogged down into dissecting the grooves or the rhythm too much. I'm more concerned with showing you how I naturally would approach the phrasing. And yeah, of course, I want you to hear it and go, okay, cool. Now I know what a two beat sounds like. Well, that's good. That's one side of it. And then here's the other side, interacting. All right. I sound like a broken record. The other way you could work it is bass lines. We're not doing this in class, but learn the bass lines or the specific guitar lines that are being played. Find them on the harmonica, not because you want to double up necessarily, but because you want to understand what they're doing. One other thing I will do in class is I will take a handful of these and demonstrate rhythmic accompaniment to the song. For example, I got a good one queued up. Let me find it. Bo Diddley. That's a good example. Let's do that. So Bo Diddley is in the class, and that is like killer because Bo Diddley has his own. We call it a Bo Diddley groove. It's called a Bo Diddley. The artist named after this groove. You don't see that too often. And so I'm going to show you how I rhythmically interact with that and teach you how to do other things besides just rephrase, but kind of like, what would I do when I'm not soloing? How can I support or emulate this style? So that's kind of a third sub objective, if you will, of the class, is like demonstrating a little of that. And I want it to be loose in the sense that we can explore together and see what questions come up too. So that's the idea. Get this stuff in your head. My recommendation to those that cannot or will not be attending is take a minute, take stock, like I said, think about songs you sing or and make sure you can identify where they might fall in the world of the jargon and the styles that associate with it. It's a wonderful, it's a work in progress for me too. I'm a slow learner. So I often need to be told many times, this is a such and such, or hear the examples many times before it sets in. And like, but it's a wonderful tool. It's a wonderful angle to work on because as harmonica players, you're often at the mercy, right, of the person singing, or you're sitting in. And if you can have any control over that, somebody says, well, what do you want to do? It's a great example of going to a jam. If in case somebody asks you, hey, I know I'm singing this, but what do you want to play? You have something in your mind ready to go. Think of one or two things that you would like to do and be able to articulate that to the person. A medium tempo tramp groove would be great in the key of E. Okay, and then hopefully these people you're communicating with understand that by the name tramp. Or you could use song or artist as those examples too. Let's do a slow BB King style, slow blues, and a BB style of BB King. It's going to sound different than if I say slow blues and make it feel like a Lightning Hopkins or something. And obviously, it depends on the instrumentation you have on stage too. You wouldn't be calling some Lightning Hopkins with a full electric band necessarily. Hey, you could though, if they knew the tunes. That's what's on my mind today. Think about these terms. Let me just see if there's anything else I can throw at you guys today that's going to come from this class. Got a little Howlin' Wolf in the mix. Albert King, John Lee Hooker. There's some cool stuff coming your way. R.L. Burnside. Join me if you want to learn more. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me today. I will see you on Saturday. And if not, I'll see you back here on this channel with some good stuff coming your way. I feel like there was one other thing that I wanted to mention. Oh, yeah. I know what it is. Check out the new Honer mug. Yeah. I just got this yesterday. This is a nice one. It's 15 ounces. I'm not a big fan of small coffee mugs. So this is a bigger mug. You can go to honerware.com. And once you're at honerware.com, you will see that they got all sorts of great swag merchandise that you can buy with the Honer brand on it. Unfortunately, it only ships in the US, I think. So if you're not living in the US, I'm sorry about that. But there's a coupon code I got for you, and the coupon code is 18149, and that gives you 10% off through April, which is good because the shipping is quite expensive. 18149. I'll put that in the video description too, along with the product link for tomorrow's class. And on that note, I got to get working on this class. So I hope to see you guys there. Thanks for tuning in. That's right, Adam. You're at the mercy of the band often, especially when someone asks you to play with them in an open mic. So the best bet in those situations is to, at minimum, know how to have variations of how you can react and interact with these different styles and approaches that are being thrown at you. That's the goal. All right, guys. I hope to see you soon. Make it a great day.